Story. So, we've been talking a lot lately in our Torah portions about building a sanctuary. And when we talk about building a sanctuary on an internal level, we're talking about building a space to be with God. And internally, that means building a special relationship, our own relationship with God. So my favorite character in Jewish stories who has a very close relationship with God is Reb Zusha. And Reb Zusha could talk to God. He talked to God all the time. And when he talked to God, he would not say I. He'd say, Rabbona Shalom, Master of the Universe, Zusha is a little cold, or Zusha is a little hungry, as if there was no I in talking to God. He was just a piece of God talking to God. And here's a story about Reb Zusha. Every morning, Reb Zusha would get up in the morning and he would go to shul to lead the morning prayers. And then he would come home for breakfast. And when it was time for breakfast, he'd sit down at his table and he'd say, Rabbana Shalom, Master of the Universe, Zusha is hungry. Please, please, bless Zusha with a little nourishment. And that was the signal for his attendant to bring him his breakfast. And when he was finished, Reb Zusha would say, Oh, Rabbana Shalom, Master of the Universe, Zusha is so happy with what you brought me to eat. Thank you so much. Well, one day the attendant was thinking, and he thought, well, every morning he asks God to bring him breakfast. But who brings him breakfast? Me. And every morning he thanks God for his breakfast, but he doesn't thank me. And he decided, tomorrow morning, when he asks for his breakfast, if he's so hungry, when he asks God, let him wait for God to bring him his breakfast. And if he wants me to bring it, he'll have to ask me by name. And he'll have to thank me too, because I'm not bringing it till he asks me. Well, the next morning, Zusha got up as usual, and he went to the shul to lead the morning prayers. And on his way back, it had begun to rain. And the streets were muddy, and they were narrow cobblestone streets. And he was walking through a kind of narrow alley, and a stranger approached him. And it was a tight space, and the stranger just shoved Zusha out of the way, and Zusha landed smack in a mud puddle. And the stranger didn't even stop to say he was sorry, he just walked away. But do you think Zusha got angry? No. Not Zusha. He said, Oh, Rabbana Shalom, thank you for shoving me in the mud. It could have been somebody else, and this way it was me instead. Thank you so much, Rabbana Shalom. And then he went home, because it was breakfast time. Now, he sat down to get his breakfast. But in the meantime, this stranger who had shoved Zusha in the mud went to a nearby tavern. And he was boasting to the innkeeper about the beggar in rags that he had shoved into the mud because he got in his way. And the innkeeper said, Tell me, what did that beggar look like? And the stranger described the man that he had pushed. And the innkeeper said, Oh, that was no beggar. That was a holy man. That was our rabbi. That was Reb Zusha, the holiest of the holiest. Well, the stranger was mortified and he said, Oh, I must go say I'm sorry. Please tell me where he lives and what can I do to apologize, to tell him I'm sorry, to make up for this. And the innkeeper said, Here, let me give you some cakes and ale. And he gave him all kinds of goodies and food to take to Reb Zusha. Meanwhile, Reb Zusha sat down for his breakfast, and he said, Rabbana Shalom, Master of the Universe, Zusha is quite hungry. I had a morning this morning, you know. Please bring Zusha a little nourishment. And the attendant just stood there. And he thought, okay, now he's going to wait for his breakfast. And Zusha said, Rabbona Shalom, you must be a little bit busy, Master of the Universe, but Zusha is hungry. Could you please bless Zusha with a little nourishment? And the attendant thought, yeah, bless Zusha. Let's see what happens. But what happened was there was a knock on the door. And the attendant went and opened the door, and there was the stranger with cakes and ale and all kinds of food that he brought to Zusha. And Zusha said, Master of the Universe, thank you so much for this delightful nourishment. And from then on, the attendant, whenever Zusha said, Master of the Universe, Zusha's a little hungry, the attendant just went and brought him food because he realized that he was just like Zusha and just like all of us, only and especially a servant of God. Good Shabbos, everybody. May we all be like Reb Zusha.